Alright, Cal, you're set?
Yes.
Set? Alright, I'm gonna open the minutes, or the meeting, saving too much time.
We have
All
one
right.
appointment, which is Sam. He didn't make it on the agenda, unfortunately.
No worries, we'll see you agenda less.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
So what brings you to our table?
June 30th is deeding deadline.
Okay,
Oof.
I'm here to remind the Board of Selectmen that we need a decision ASAP if we're gonna take this property or not. Cause there still remains a $1,700 unpaid balance on the account.
okay.
I wrote to TD Bank today and I got shuffled around, usually they just picked up the phone and talked to me, but I guess there's been a lot of regulations and changes and I had to send them an email this time describing my question, and they wrote back and said 3 to 5 business days, so we don't know if TD Bank is going to be paying this balance or not.
Gotcha.
We have a meeting on, what's the next meeting, the 18th? 16th?
Oh, 16th, yeah.
16th, but I'd really like to have a decision kind of firmed up no later than the 16th, cause we're deeding on the
Yeah.
30th,
Yeah,
so,
understood.
yeah,
So the deeding is June 30th,
June 30th.
okay, and you want a decision by the 16th?
16th, and a decision no later than the 16th. So if you need to make a site visit, if you need to make conversations with the owner, if you need to do
Whatever,
whatever you guys are gonna do, no later than the 16th.
Sam, what's the latest communication with the owner?
She came in and paid partial part of the bill, about a week and a half ago,
Okay.
yeah.
And did any conversation about more
She did
payment?
not, no,
That was pretty much,
I commended her for making payments,
Yeah.
she said thank you, and that was it. So. But that was the first, there was a payment a month and a half prior to that, and then we had this payment, so if we're waiting a month and a half for another check,
Maybe
it's not
beyond,
gonna, it's
yeah.
gonna be too late,
yeah.
okay,
so.
is that a discussion to be held in greater detail in an executive session? So that we can get all the details, or how,
I-
what's the,
I believe everything is matter of public record,
So,
so.
she
Okay.
has not paid the bill, she's not satisfied the legal tax bill and liens,
yeah,
and the board of selectmen ultimately have the decision to accept a deed from tax collector or not accept a deed from tax collector.
Right,
But I do not wanna get to June 29th and,
right,
cause we don't have a public meeting between the 18th when we do meet and the 30th when we're deeding,
right.
so
okay,
16th
so
rather.
June, what did we say, 16th was the
16th,
last
yeah.
meeting before?
So I need a decision by the 16th, of if you will accept a deed or not. Hopefully it'll be a moot point by then, but we need these all things lined up as a contingency,
Right,
if it doesn't happen.
Personally, I'd like to come in and make sure I refresh myself about all the who talked to who, when, and what bills were paid before the 16th, and we can decide on the 16th.
that works for
Itself?
your timeline?
Sure.
If
yeah,
we give you a firm answer on the 16th,
Yeah,
alright, cause I'd like to go over it just to make sure I understand what's going on.
Sure.
Is that okay by you, Cal? Okay. Alright. And the best place to look at that information is in your office, Sam?
it's online, it's on the tax
Oh,
accounts.
okay, then I'll just look
You
on
can
the tax.
see, it's chronological, so the most
Okay.
recent bill is on the top, so you have to go down to the 2023 lien, 2022 lien, but you can do transactions and it'll show you all the payments that somebody's made on the account.
Okay.
You can do that on
Yeah,
computer.
that's probably not a
will
bad
do.
idea.
But she has received the deeding notice and TD Bank has received the deeding notice, so
You get highlighted in pink, that's as good as it gets,
Thank
that goes to the top of the list.
Yep.
We'll look at it, okay, 16th,
Right,
thank you for
any
bringing,
further questions or comments?
not on that, thank you.
cool,
Thanks, Sam.
thank you.
Righty, thank you,
Appreciate
Sam. Goes on the big pile.
Yeah. Alright, Ken, what do you think, we'll sign?
I'd say fact finding. Yep. Who's the size, yeah.
Alright. First item looks like an accounts payable manifest.
Two of them.
Okay, alright, so I'll call this one number one. in the amount of $2,250 even.
Wow. That's a little, so moved,
Second, all those in favor, aye?
aye,
Aye.
I brought a pen this time.
I have an extra, just in case. Alright. And second accounts payable manifest in the amount of $20,266.96.
So moved,
I'll second, all those in favor, aye?
aye. That sounds a little bit more like what we're used to signing, what we're used to signing.
Yes, it is.
Yep, yeah. Okay. Cal, I always kind of forget by the time we get to the meeting, but Mary has these generally on her desk in the afternoon of like today, so I could look at them before
Yes.
trying to
Yeah,
browse
you-
through them
you
here.
want to.
Okay,
And you can take time
Thank you.
during the meeting to look at them if you want
Yeah.
to.
okay, yeah. If you remind me on some other Monday. Poke me.
Alright, next is a payroll manifest in the amount of $52,766.17.
52,000, pardon?
52,766 and 17
And
cents.
17 cents. So moved.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye. Yeah, it's a fat one.
Thank you. Alright, next item, welfare manifest in the amount of $2,250.
So moved.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye. You can feel free to move things if you
Cal,
want,
anything
Cal.
on that? It looks like apartment,
I don't want you to feel left
So
out.
this is somebody who was unhoused and we found them housing.
Very good.
So we're getting real close to being done with this case.
sounds good.
Yay. That's good all the way around. Yep,
Alright, next item is a notice of intent to cut water timber. It is map 229 lot 1 and lot 1-1. And I think we just signed this, right? Yes, yeah,
this is, oh no, we had one last meeting too, but this must be a
correct, this is a, yeah,
Oh, yeah, okay. Did you check to make sure there was only one blue sticker?
I only saw one blue sticker, so
Just checking.
good luck.
I asked Mandy to switch back to blue.
Thank you.
Thank her on our behalf.
It's like, it's a Pavlovian response.
I was just
See,
thinking the
sign
same
with
thing.
the same, sign with blue is,
I guess so.
you know where that is, right?
Yeah, yep. Today's the second.
Yeah.
It's funny to see what people are cutting now.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
Alright, so the next item is an abatement. Recommendation for 32 Hall Road, map 249, lot 16. The owner is All Purpose Storage Canterbury.
You should read the letter.
Yeah, that's what. Alright, so I'm gonna let everybody read that before we discuss.
Ooh. Ooh. That's from Mandy, yes?
Yeah.
I think at this time it would be good to say that, how much we appreciate the research that she puts and the expertise that she brings to preparing these documents, because, she does a good job.
Yes, she does. Is that the motion?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought it did.
Righty.
Any discussion?
I don't have as much expertise as Mandy, but I trust her judgment on this. Her numbers make a compelling argument, so
Yeah,
I would agree.
yeah. Okay, alright, then I'm gonna make a motion that we deny this abatement request.
Seconded?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Abatement is denied. And I think we just signed, I only see one blue tab again, so.
Buy her a giant stack of them. Thank you.
Alright, so. Alright, next item is an original warrant yield tax levy. That's a timber tax on, yeah. It's for map, 227 lot 2. 221-16, and it says 264-18, no cut, so I'm assuming that means there was
They did
no,
not cut
they
it.
did not cut, okay. And Ken, I think we just signed this, don't we?
Yes.
And the 3 spots indicated.
Yes.
It,
Oh, sorry, I was
No,
playing with
no
my
worries.
markers. Thanks, sir.
Alright, next, it looks like this is an application for a veteran's exemption that was filed late. So Mandy has denied it under RSA 72:33. It looks like it was filed about a week late. Actually, it was just filed today, and it was due on May 27th.
Has this person filed before, is this, I mean, we have people who file things and are habitually late, but is this a new?
Those are usually a one-shot
You
deal.
won't, right, you only have to file once, and then you get the credit, but if someone hasn't filed, then this person filed late. And they can apply next year.
Oh, okay,
And this does not need a motion, Ken, just
No.
signatures.
Right.
how many of these applications do we get a year, does the town get a year?
Varies, we have numbers on what the total amount of credits that are received every year, or that are, I guess, deducted every year. We can get that information. In fact, I think it's in the town report.
Oh, okay, I'll look it up. The town report is getting very well thumbed.
Yes, it usually is.
Is it actually a separate line? Of course, I don't have my my town report here with me tonight, now that I say how well thumbed it is.
Yeah. It is in here, let's see,
That's all right, I can
it's,
find it.
Well, it must vary because there's different types of credits.
Yeah.
yes,
Thank you. There's that back at you.
yeah, on page 40, you'll see elderly exemptions, blind, handicap, and then veterans.
Okay,
down
thank you.
below. So, all veterans tax credit last year was $10,500. The veterans tax credit was 47,000. And the total disability veterans tax credit was 15,400.
Okay, thank you.
Alright, last item to sign is an appointment for Russ, say it again, Miles?
Yeah.
To the Solid Waste Committee for a term of 3 years. Do we have an opening on the Solid Waste Committee?
I don't know that we have a
There's not a limit, is there?
cap
Yeah.
on how many members on the solid waste committee.
Okay. I don't know him, so,
He spoke at town meeting.
or was he the one that,
He spoke up and explained, he had a proposal for how to
yeah,
retrofit the diesel truck so that the hydraulics could run
yeah,
on electricity. He seems knowledgeable, he's come to several meetings
okay,
and showed interest.
good, alright,
Quiet, I don't know if that counts for anything, but it's quiet.
okay.
he also has, connections or knowledge of how Unitil works, which might be helpful.
Sure. Alright, let's move on to minutes. We'll start with the May 19th public minutes.
So, the first suggestion is line 135. And, right now it just says that Megan spoke with DES. The suggestion is to change it, to say Megan spoke with, a DES representative as an abutter. To clarify that she spoke with some representative and that she was doing so as an abutter, not as a town official,
Makes sense to me.
okay?
Yes.
Next one is line 148. Where it says, we'll share the results with DES, add with DES and the town.
Hmm? Yeah, that sounds good as well.
And there's a couple of grammatical ones that I'm gonna skip.
Okay.
Line 304, it says, when the revale happened in 2006, the taxes on the property jumped from 228 to 1,820. That was the same year he filed an abatement for his home. The suggestion is to clarify some of that, so that it will read, when the revale happened in 2006, the taxes on the undeveloped property in question jumped from 228 to 1,820. That was the same year he filed an abatement for the taxes on his home, which abuts the undeveloped property. So just kind of adding
Okay.
which properties are being spoken about.
Yeah.
Line 338, just where it says wait until August, just add after the Canterbury Fair.
Yeah.
And then line 374, Beth McGinn recommended against signing up in an email to the select board, just switching that around to say, in an email to the select board, Beth McGinn recommended against signing up to the program Kearsarge Energy proposed.
Okay.
And then there was another suggestion that I, so line 190, Beth suggested moving that whole item into the next section, but I think that there's pretty significant overlap between the section about discussion of the Roy Plisco report and the section about discussing the purpose and direction of the solid waste committee. So I think if we start getting into which line should go in which section, I think we'll end up reorganizing too much of it.
Okay,
So I don't think that we should do that.
that's fine. It's still in there, so that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that is it for that one.
Alright. I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as amended.
I would second that.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Alright, why don't we move
Thank you, Cal.
the May 19th, 2025 non-public session?
I know, I love getting stuff on the back.
We don't waste paper here.
No,
Right.
that's good.
That's it.
Can I make comments on this if I don't mention anybody's name? On line 16 is just the, or line 17. Well, I guess it doesn't really matter. I would have put, have heard a rumor that,
Okay.
And then, and just take it off the end there, because putting it at the end there makes it, kinda sounds like it confirms that it is.
Okay.
But the fact is, we need to find out, so that's all, just that,
Alright, so
otherwise it's fine,
change that to be, have heard or rumor that,
yeah,
and remove, this is just a rumor at the end.
yeah.
Okay.
And that's all, otherwise
Alright,
that's about our shortest non-public session ever, so.
Yep,
This
alright.
this is fine,
I'll make a motion to approve as amended.
seconded,
All those in favor, aye?
aye,
And why don't we hand
Do you-
those down?
no,
Thank you.
I usually write on them approved as amended, but Cal will take care of that. Okay.
Alright, that brings us to the May 22nd, 2025 minutes.
Alright, so a few recommended changes here. The first one is on line 20, it says they hope Megan will be a good addition and hold the solid waste committee accountable. Beth suggested changing it to, they hope Megan will be a good addition and help the solid waste committee better their process for submitting project ideas. My raw notes did say that, like, the actual phrase hold the solid waste committee accountable was used,
Okay.
so I don't know if you wanna change it.
I didn't remember it that way, but if that's what your minutes say you were writing at the time, so then that's fine.
Right,
I would question, I guess, accountable to what, to finish the thought, but, if that's not
that was not said,
referenced or said, then I would leave it as is,
okay.
that's fine.
So then line 75, where it says the select board will decide on one option at their next meeting, just adding at the end, after considering results of polling town employees.
Yep.
And then the other one was grammar, so there's a 75.
Okay,
Alright, I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as amended.
I will second that.
All those in favor?
Aye. Thank you, Cal, as always.
Alright, that brings us to reports from select board reps on boards and committees. Anybody wanna start us off?
You're the left,
Alright,
or, and you're the right,
I have the fewest, so.
go for it, let Calvin start.
alright, Calvin?
Pretty simple this month, I talked with Kevin, they didn't have a meeting this month, not enough people could, enough would attend
For,
HDC.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
But he did say there's an application coming from Shaker Village for a handicap ramp, so they'll discuss that at the next meeting this month, or in June, yeah, it's June now. So that'll get discussed, not much going on.
Yeah.
And then he brought up the idea that, we're finding more input as to what goes into town buildings or contracts, so the HTC kinda has a little bit more say or direction as to what materials or et cetera gets used, so it's a little easier to comply with the rules. Kinda expedite the process a little bit rather than playing back and forth. We kinda lay out X, Y, and Z, now you know what you gotta play with to start.
oh, so the list of of materials that the HDC would like to say, they're going to come up with a list of what they wanna see. Okay.
Right. So in terms of, we're talking
Yeah.
about the garage and 5 different materials, these are the 5 on our list. So that way we don't have the back and forth, or we don't have to waste time in trying to determine what's acceptable or not. So that was pretty straightforward. I reached out to Randy with the rec committee. They don't plan on getting together like they normally do until the fall. Once late July hits, soccer will come back in,
Yeah.
and then the rec committee will do soccer, and they run the Halloween, and then they plan on having a meeting here in November to discuss budget as a public hearing.
Good.
So pretty straightforward.
Yep, sounds good.
Good.
That's it?
And the school board is
Yep.
next Tuesday in Canterbury, so I
Cool.
haven't been to one of those yet.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, they're very interesting, actually.
It's gonna be interesting.
That's what I was at, sure was, so.
So have you been at one this?
No.
This,
No.
yeah,
Not yet, so.
okay.
Alright, Beth?
All right, the energy committee, has new energy. It's kind of a flip, because, I'm on energy committee and CCPC. So CCPC that had the bulk of the people and the projects, and Energy Committee had like 3 people and weren't working, have flipped, which I think is probably the way it's going to stay. Energy Committee, they are talking about doing several workshops in the fall. They wanna do, one about solar, like another solar petting zoo, but include other interesting things like, electric snow blowers and things like that. One about battery storage, I believe, but personal battery storage for if you have solar or, you know. And then another, what's the third one? Oh, how to HVAC. So if you have a mini split or whatever, how do you run it most efficiently? Cause everybody's, you know, like turning them off and cranking them up and whatever, so they wanna do something for the homeowner to figure out how to best use their equipment, which is great. And they are talking about perhaps doing another solarized Canterbury, program like they did, back a few years. Perhaps including battery storage this time, which would be great. They haven't started talking about that yet. And there's still, a lot of energy devoted towards, window dressers.
Yeah.
And, they are talking again about revisiting the, municipal complex, audit that was done a few years back. And, I'm afraid, Ken, I'm gonna have to sit with you again and go through that list, cause I checked some of them, but I didn't check all the items off that they asked me about. But that was a pretty short discussion, but they, you know, are very, excited about doing workshops and, also, Ruth has been attending the Soul Smart, some of those, seminars with Fred Portnoy. So they are busy and they have a lot going on.
Good.
CCPC, are down to 2 members, Fred Portnoy and Tim Me and myself as the Board of Selectmen rep. We needed to have 2 people, be reps for, Community Power New Hampshire. Edgar has agreed to be one of those reps.
Thank you, Edgar.
Beth McGuinn has agreed to be the second one.
Very good.
They both, I sent them a letter today and they both replied yes, so we can do, those appointment slips
Yeah.
whenever.
So my suggestion, Edgar, is decide who's gonna be the primary representative and who's gonna be Beth.
Yeah,
Perfect, thank you.
and, a lot of their meetings, as I sent, both Beth and Edgar, the schedule,
Yeah.
from their calendar. You can zoom into most of the meetings. There's 2, important, there's, the next meeting on the 13th is kind of a how-to of setting the rates.
Yeah.
And then there's another meeting, what was it, Ken, on like the 26th, that's actually like
For the rate
the
setting.
information
Yeah.
about setting the rates,
Yeah,
so,
I knew it was coming up,
that's coming up.
yeah.
Tricentennial, I guess I can still report on that since we're
Please
both
do,
on
I've got a
that.
little bit too, but if you
Yeah,
overlap, we'll,
they certainly have got, well, last meeting, we, you know, kind of said they're not a town, committee anymore, they're, under the historic, committee, Historic Society. They've got 2 great and enthusiastic chair people. Heidi Southard is a force to be reckoned with. She is taking great notes and coming up with all kinds of calendars and, ways to track interest in the, events. Lots of ideas. I stepped down as secretary from that committee, but they've already found, Renee Brooks from, Heritage Herbs, who has stepped up. They're Heidi and, Naomi are very pleased with her so far, and so the committee says going great guns, lots of ideas.
alright. I'll start with Tricentennial Committee, since
Okay.
that's where you left off. The only thing to add is, we have been doing an art contest at the elementary school with the kids.
Oh, yeah.
I have the 3 finalists, at my house, not the kids, but their drawings.
I would hope.
And I thought I should clarify that.
Yeah, thank you.
But I'm very impressed with what they've done. So Naomi has, images, I'm not sure exactly how she wants to handle, but the Tricentennial Committee is gonna vote for the winner.
Okay,
And then the final day of school, the final assembly, is when we'll announce the winner.
oh, when is that?
The 19th of June, 8:30 in the
Half
morning.
day.
So, right, half day. So I imagine it'll be a pretty quick,
19th
yeah,
of June.
pretty quick assembly that day.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping, well, if Naomi doesn't send out that reminder to us all, because it would be nice if as many members of the Tricentennial Committee could be there.
Yeah,
Would you remind her to remind us?
I certainly will.
Please.
I emailed her a couple
Okay.
times today, so,
That would be good,
yeah, I'll just add one more to it.
at CES.
Yep, 19th, 8:30. The only other thing that I have is planning board. So I'll start with the older of the two meetings that I've been to. That the May 13th meeting, the planning board approved a minor subdivision at 527 Northwest Road. An 11-acre parcel that they're gonna be dividing into two 5.5-acre parcels. The kind of unusual thing was two of the planning board members were abutters, so they recused themselves, one full member and one alternate, so. We barely had a quorum with the two members missing. And then at that same meeting, there was a preconceptual presentation by Webb Stout on behalf of Ken Stern. It's going to be an application for a minor subdivision on Baptist Hill Road. The intent is to divide two lots from map R9 lot 55, directly across from 280 Baptist Hill Road. That'll probably be coming in the fall when Webb returns.
Alright,
May 27th meeting, there was a discussion about a draft sludge ordinance. So more to follow on that as we sort of narrow that down. Discussion of the addition of chapter 9 to the master plan, which is the solid waste section. It was sort of a general critique by the members, and after a little bit of back and forth, corrections were going to be emailed to Michelle, so. We also discussed the capital improvement plan, and Ken, at some point, I mean, you wanna sort of have a discussion about that, so. Maybe right after this, we can,
Sure.
yeah. And tying in with what Ken is gonna talk about, Mike Tardif suggests a public meeting to get public input to that. And then the HOP grant, the Housing Opportunity Grant, we discussed, and that's looking at our land use regulations. And then, we talked about the, land use regulations, and with the current bills in the State House, the decision was made to just sort of wait and see what happens. Because several of those bills will affect what we can do, so it made sense to me. So that's it,
but
but,
my last committee,
okay, I thought you would finish.
I was
sorry.
not, solid waste committee is the last committee
Okay.
that I sit on.
Oh, yes,
So,
Same.
I'm not quite sure how to report on this committee, but I'll do my very best.
begin at the beginning.
So I've gone to 4 meetings. We talked a lot, about planning Household Hazardous Waste Day. And then that planning went through the first 3 meetings, and then, the meeting on the 26th, on Memorial Day, was a wrap-up of the household waste. I think we all got a summary from Rich about how that went.
Indeed,
So, it seemed to be a success. People wanted more of it and want more of them more regularly.
Yeah.
So, I think that was really good. The handouts, that were provided were, really good, and I have copies of those, so the town can make more copies and have them available at the town office and stuff, cause they were very good about, foam recycling and battery recycling and our plastics and whatever, so. They were, prepared for the household hazardous waste event, but they are good year-round, so, we'll move those,
Right.
along. Also talked about the, trying to organize the treasure house, and I think after discussion, the, committee is just as happy if it goes back to being primarily the treasure house committee volunteers dealing with Dave at the transfer station to see what's appropriate to have there and what shouldn't be there.
okay. I guess one question before you move on with that is, how are the committee, I don't recall ever appointing anyone to a treasure house committee.
No, they're just a kind of organic citizens group, I believe, that just, and that's what we were trying to figure out, that
Okay,
I don't know when it opened, but that's, we can find. I didn't investigate that, but,
Was it post-COVID didn't they kind of emerge after the COVID?
No, I mean, the treasure house originally. Treasure house
I was
originally has
like, it
been there
revamped
forever.
after
No,
COVID.
I think it ramped up and then, Emily Burb, started it again and she was a member of the solid waste committee, so she brought that information back to that committee, but it wasn't, nobody was really sure about how it was being run. So, I think it just kind of, if we can clarify, Adrian Hutchinson did show up at the Memorial Day meeting and she did ask who's the operator, who's got an operator's license up at the transfer station. And whoever it is who's deciding what should or shouldn't be there should be a licensed operator, so it still seemed appropriate that Dave be involved mostly with the committee. And then Madeline Lowe has been very enthusiastic about getting volunteers, and I think she will probably be the point person for I haven't talked with her further, but she put in a very extensive item into the newsletter asking about, asking for volunteers and, saying what they accepted or didn't accept, so I think she's going to be the point person, but I can contact her more formally and say if that's something she's interested in. The problem, the concern that's been ongoing with my time on this committee has been, I think, the flow of information, and the feeling from the committee that the work that they've done has not been appreciated or recognized. They say this very strongly. They have very strong feelings about this. They were not, they do not seem to appreciate, I guess would be a good word, when information is brought to them that they don't have, like their mission statement, or some history that Ken showed up to the meeting and provided to them. This was not received with, oh, thank you, that's something we didn't know. The overall feeling was that they were more suspicious about why we were giving them this information. And in fact, one comment was, why are we only getting this after we've pushed back to the Board of Selectmen? So I don't really understand that feeling about information being provided. And our conversations have been dicey at best, I guess. The 26th, the meeting of the 26th was very combative. A lot of the second half of the meeting was directed towards me as far as hijacking the committee's agenda since I had arrived there, and basically fabricating a narrative of the work that they have done. Because I questioned that going through 2 years of their minutes, I couldn't see how they got from so dedicated to retrofitting the transfer station in place to presenting an idea that it needed to move. I couldn't understand that, and my questioning wasn't answered. It was not appreciated. So in general, it was a very combative meeting. It wasn't pleasant. It went long, and there were statements, I think, that were not helpful about the Board of Selectmen handpicking the committee members by appointing Megan, who did not come from the committee, but was appointed by us, and that was not appreciated. And the fact that it was considered to be us handpicking their committee as opposed to trying to help their committee, again, doesn't help the process. So again, the meeting was extremely combative. The minutes that are posted online, while accurate, do not reflect the aggressive tone of the second half of the meeting. So I don't know quite how to make comments on those minutes helpfully. So I think it's important that the minutes do reflect a certain tone of the meeting, so that people looking back, and this has been my point all along, those minutes, any committee's minutes should reflect the work that the committee is doing. If committee members are going to explore the possibilities of something and come back and report to their committee, that should be in the minutes. Either a copy of the report referenced or the summary of the report that was given. And those are not often found in their minutes, which is the problem I have with them. And that's part of that's part of the point when I was told I was fabricating the narrative, because obviously I hadn't read the minutes, which I had read 2 years worth of minutes. So I find that difficult to work with. I am willing to still pursue this, because again, I think the committee has merit. And I think the committee has a lot of good expertise, but if they are unwilling, if this committee is unwilling to take direction from the Board of Selectmen, which I felt at that meeting, they made very clear that they did not want to, I don't know how that goes forward. I did ask, and I think I sent this to you all for us to discuss. The chair was very firm that the list of current projects that's on the website proves the work that they've been doing. So I made a copy of that list, and I would like evidence of their discussions pertaining to these, because some of them I didn't see. So what their explanation was is that if we investigated something that wasn't going to work, we didn't bother to bring it to the Board of Selectmen. Adrian was very clear, as was Megan, as was I, that if you have an idea that you've investigated, even if it doesn't work, you should bring it up so people don't investigate it again. So I'm asking, and I will let us all decide if we all want to ask for them to show evidence of the things that they have listed on as their current projects, which I think should be easy for them to supply. I think that's pretty basic. Rich has a big file of research, which is fine if he has a big file of research, but that's not a public record that we can look at to see what the committee's been doing. So I think they investigated a lot of pertinent issues at the transfer station. I just don't think that we heard about it as much as is helpful. So you should both have a copy of this, and once we go through it and look at it, and I've added a few things that, again, I think as a board, we should, I'll speak for myself, that I think that this committee should be focusing on. They wanted to take out the last paragraph of the mission statement, which was primarily concerned with education. And I think education should be a big part of what they do, even things like, how do we recycle in this town, or what's the importance of a household hazardous waste day, or best practices for recycling. I mean, if you're concerned about how much time people are spending sitting in line waiting for people to separate the recycling, then it would be a good thing to reach out and say, to tell all the news sources in town, please recycle, separate your stuff before you get here, this is what you do, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so on the whole, I think for the 4 meetings I was there, they attended to a certain amount of business, but there was a lot of discussion about basically why I was asking questions. So I think going forward, again, if they're willing to accept questions and supply evidence to the work they've been doing like everybody else is expected to do, I think that's fine. But I did extend an invitation from the Board of Selectmen, because they were very concerned that we weren't hearing their concerns, for the committee as a whole to come into a future meeting, and I think that was the 16th. So if we agree that that's a good thing, Rich kind of thought perhaps it should be a discussion held more privately, I believe the whole committee should be able to weigh in on the work that they've done. And that if we're going to say, can you please sort of provide us with a list of what you've been working on? It's up for them to say in a public forum, yes, we will, or no, we won't. I think that's pretty basic, and so, willing to go forward from there. I think Megan will be a good addition to the group. I was glad to see Adrian there. She added some good commentary. She has experience. She can't make the meetings because of her commitments at the school, but she brought up some good points, and she was a good voice to hear.
Yeah.
David has also brought up some good points when he was there, also about future planning for budgeting for household hazardous waste days. You know, how we could better do that, to have them more regularly. Rich brought that up as well. So I mean, I think that's a good discussion to have, because it was obvious that the desire for more of them
Yeah,
was really strong,
yeah.
so. That's my report as best I can do it.
Alright. So
Any
looking-
questions?
Looking ahead to the 16th, how much time do we wanna budget for?
I was thinking, would it be more productive if we could all just attend their first July meeting? If we attended their meeting, maybe they could push their hour meeting to a 2-hour window, as opposed to taking up 2 hours at 8 o'clock at night.
That's what
You
I'm
know, timing wise, I think it'd be more productive if it was an afternoon and people were in a better headspace and not necessarily tired or stressed after the day,
What do you think?
if possible.
I think that's good, I have seen that it does, I don't know what the commitments are for committee members. They seem very keen on keeping it to an hour, so,
Except for their last meeting.
except for the last meeting, which did, and then at the end, there was a lot of commentary about that, so I don't know what other people's job commitments are, but that, you're very correct. If we wanna go, and can the three of us go
I can
into a,
take
What's
a
the
day.
date of the July meeting?
it is not the 9th. Wait a minute.
On the website, right? Should show up on the calendar.
It's usually the Monday, the second of the third
14th.
Monday of the month.
Yep, July 14th.
14th, Kevin?
Yep,
And that's at 3?
3:30.
3:30 here.
So there's not one, hold on.
Is there one in June?
Yes, we're not meeting on the 9th because Rich is traveling. And then the next one, I believe, is the 23rd. So that's their next meeting, which is a Monday.
I mean, they could still come to the 16th, but I guess if there was more.
Wait a minute, what's our
things-
meetings are, here we are on the 9th and the 23rd. Oh wait, they must be the 16th and the 30th.
Their next meeting
It's
is June 23rd,
Alright, it is the
and
23rd,
then after that, they're meeting July 14th.
Okay.
Their June 9th meeting was canceled.
was canceled, alright, so it is the 23rd and the 14th. So I don't know, I mean, I don't know what's on the agenda for the 23rd, but this seems like it would be a pretty, good topic for them. If we say we would like to come to your 23rd meeting, I can see how it could easily take up that,
Yeah.
if that's,
Well, that's my concern about them coming to our next select board meeting. is, Like Calvin said, 2
Yeah.
hours, of. That's a very long night. How's our how's our agenda look for that meeting?
We'll be starting at 5 p.m.,
Yeah,
starting our next meeting, and there's the department heads, and I don't think there's any other appointments yet.
at this point.
You could do, a format of like each person gets 5 minutes to say their piece, and we bring the timer out, and total of like 30 minutes budgeted for this conversation.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't mind going into their meeting, if you think that makes more sense.
either or for me, yeah,
I can do either.
yeah.
Yeah, I guess the only question would be is, does anybody need any more time to, prepare anything, but the 23rd, why don't we just do it? I'm not exactly sure what else they would be talking about. And I think it would be best to get things settled, one way or the other.
Agreed.
So if the 16th is a crowded day for us, why don't we go visit them and on the 23rd? And then it's an hour and, the 23rd you said, yes?
Well,
we had, received a message from Mr. Plisco asking to come to you, to meet with you guys at a meeting, reference his report. We put him off for this meeting because I had thought that you were gonna meet with them on the 16th.
Right.
But I can,
I'll tell you what, why don't we do this? The 16th is the next date. It's the soonest we could meet with them.
Yeah,
Let's keep that.
all right,
We can have Roy come. I guess my concern for all of them is we can't turn this into a 2-hour airing of the grievances.
and I think, as Cal said, you have to put time limits on it and hold strictly.
Yeah,
And, yeah,
well, and I
and
think,
we can, I'll reach out to do a formal invitation.
Yep.
And let them know there are gonna be time limits.
Yeah.
So they can, and I can talk to, Rich Marku and
yep,
just say, look, we have other things on the agenda. And please have all your concerns in order and, do it that way.
yeah,
well, and I'm not sure it would be if it would be a bad idea to send our concern, well, I don't know. To reach out to them beforehand when we send the invitation, say, this is what we would like to talk about. And include,
Like, if you guys wanna send me.
Yeah.
I don't know, individually send me whatever, like a bulleted list.
yeah,
And I'll put something together and send it to them that, and in the interest of time, probably 2 or 3 things from each one of you that are priority, and then I'll, we don't wanna put a dozen or so
no,
concerns, but a few that they can focus on, I guess.
and I can think of just one, and the answer to that question might decide the whole conversation, so.
Okay.
But I think everybody appreciates a heads up about what somebody's going to talk with
Yep.
them about before they get to a meeting. Then they have time to consider what they might wanna say, and if they wanna pull anything together beforehand, I think that's
Yep.
just polite.
Yep.
So, yeah, we can do that, and let's keep them on the 16th. Okay,
yeah, let's do it that way.
Alright.
thank you. And I don't know if anybody has any other questions about meetings or anything,
No,
okay. Alvin,
I'm good.
okay,
Do you want me to talk about the,
Yep.
capital improvement plan?
yep,
So following up what Scott said about the planning board and the capital improvement plan, Michelle had talked to me about, what, Central Hampshire Planning had posed about community involvement, I guess is what they talked about in the CIP. I contacted the chair of the planning board and we discussed that. I feel that the CIP is it's a public document, but it's also developed internally by the department heads and the staff at the town office. This is long-term planning, budgeting, based on the age and I guess the condition of all the equipment and buildings in town. Typically, a capital improvement plan is for larger communities that have community water, community sewer, looking at the infrastructure and the potential costs, working from the master plan to see what may be recommended by the master plan, either future development, and if there's gonna be future development, how the town can budget for that through the infrastructure. So, but for the town the size of Canterbury, we look at, we get it down to the nitty gritty of trucks and loaders and things like that. We also do the buildings, so I felt that having some kind of community involvement would just delay the process of approving the CIP for this year. And probably not get a lot of, information that would be helpful for the CIP, because it's such a, it's a budgetary document, and I think that the department heads of the staff and the planning board are more in tune with the needs of the community as far as when are we gonna need a new dump truck, you know, what's the condition of our fleet, things like that. And that again, looking at the master plan that the planning board worked hard to complete, and the community involvement from that is really a blueprint for that CIP. And Brendan agreed with me, and so he was gonna contact Central New Hampshire Planning and suggest that they not have a community involvement strictly for the CIP. It would be based on the HOP grant
Yeah.
stuff, and
That makes more sense.
and then, certainly the CIP is, that the planning board is working on with the Central Hampshire Planning is a public meeting. So all that is out there, so if people are interested in it, they can contact the planning board or whatever and comment on it.
Yeah.
But in the essence of time and getting the thing completed is I think, it's be more efficient if we didn't try to have a community involvement just for the CIP.
And how often do we need to update the CIP? Is that a yearly?
Well,
It's kinda ongoing every
it's
time
a-
we have it.
typically it's ongoing, I mean, as part of the budget process, I put together with the department heads a condition of the fleet and the equipment. If there's improvements or changes that need to be done for the buildings, that's again part of the budget process. So it's an ongoing issue or an ongoing process. Every 5 years or every 10 years, when a master plan is supposed to be redone, then the CIP should be looked at by the planning board. But typically it's reviewed by the staff and the department heads every year to determine, what we should be planning for. I think we do a pretty good job every year with putting away money in the cap reserve accounts.
Right,
And like we're buying a new fire truck, well, we don't have to contribute for the next 5 years because of the age of the other fire trucks, and in 5 years, we're gonna have to start. We've essentially done a lot of that work.
Right.
So, but I think that's how that works.
does things like the traffic study, work in there too, to say like, okay, we can see by the amount of traffic increase that, the population is in, or how does like population figure into it?
Typically, if the planning board were to, approve a large project, say the proposed multifamily, work project they wanted to do that was proposed down on West Road.
Oh, yeah,
If that was on a town road or it impacted town services, then that would be taken into consideration. The planning board should talk to the staff at the town office and say, look, we've just approved this project. We think it's gonna have an impact on fire, police, highway, whatever, and then that becomes part of the CIP.
okay,
So again, it's an ongoing project. But if, like when the community, the Economic Development Committee worked on the Hall Road project. And that industrial, commercial land was all rezoned, that was something that, and I don't know, because I wasn't working at that time here, but that's a project that should impact the CIP, because that may impact the needed services of the town. We may, if somebody's gonna build a big industrial building, we may need different firefighting equipment. If there's gonna be a large, private school or something where there's gonna be needed increase for the police department, that should be discussed. Those types of things should be brought up at the CIP from the planning board.
Do they take into consideration the House bills that are going through and the potential impact that would have? Or is that a moot point until it gets voted on?
No, they-
I would, yes to the first part of your question, and yes to the second part of your question.
Yeah.
Nobody knows what's gonna happen in Concord, so it's kinda hard to say, well, how's this gonna impact our town until you actually know.
I just know if they had a contingency of like, okay, if this does go through, how do we look at X, Y, and Z?
Right, exactly, where, one of the bills is saying that, residential building and commercial by right, and how could that impact the town? Yeah, should it be taken into account when you're doing a commercial, CIP? Yeah, but how do you do that? So,
until you know.
yeah, until
But
you
that's
know.
all pretty short term, don't you think that'll probably, they'll vote and that'll get decided?
And again, I mean,
Yeah.
if some of these bills do start moving forward, and the planning board starts getting proposals on, large housing developments or, whatever, then that's something that, again, we can look at the CIP every year and say, well, geez, we should work on this next year because there's gonna be some impacts to it, so,
And we'll know July, the status of all the bills,
yeah.
so,
Yeah, one would,
yeah.
but yeah, it seems to make more sense to keep it, the people who have the numbers most at hand.
Yeah.
And the equipment that they are familiar with most at hand and are dealing with it.
Yeah.
To work with the planning board or.
Yeah, and not to
Make it
discount
useful.
what the residents and taxpayers have their thoughts on, but they don't know how many miles are on a dump truck, or,
Or what that means,
or, right, exactly, what that means.
10,000 miles, I don't know, is that a lot
Yeah,
on a dump truck,
e-
what do I know?
Exactly, same thing for police cruisers and fire trucks and things like that, the typical resident doesn't have that kind of information.
Yeah,
So that's, I mean, if there was somebody that was very well versed in capital improvement plans that wanted to have some input, then again, the planning board has public meetings and they have that opportunity to talk to the planning board.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Alrighty,
Makes sense. Alright, I think, Ken, unless we're at new business, Cushman Elm?
Yes, Beth asked me to look into
thank you,
the Cushman Elm,
Yep.
because there's some dead branches on it.
Oh, I haven't looked.
We talked to Bartlett Tree, they came out, they have been treating the tree now for
Years.
many years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know,
Yeah,
probably 15 or 20 years now.
yeah,
They have a new, representative, that, I sent you an email earlier today, I don't know if you guys got a chance to see it.
I did.
He recommended some, I thought, fairly extreme measures to
Yeah.
take care of that tree. I think that, it gets a Dutch elm disease treatment every other year, and then a root invigoration treatment every other year, so they switch off.
Yep.
From his email, he suggested to remove all the sod under the canopy, and put in some kind of watering system, drip, soaker hose, and cover it with 4 inches of wood chips under the whole canopy.
Yeah.
So,
it was
I mean,
pretty major,
yeah, the tree is 3 feet from the road, so we could only, even then, we could only go up to
The shoulder.
the shoulder.
Yeah.
And because it's within a certain amount of feet of a cemetery, you have to have state permission and an archaeologist if you're gonna dig even outside the cemetery bounds.
oh,
I can't remember how many feet it is, but there is a law that says if you're gonna do that, when they fixed the culvert on Kimball Pond Road.
Yep.
The state had to have an archaeologist on site while they were digging it up, the
Interesting.
culvert,
Huh.
because it was within that range.
Hmm.
I think that we could probably achieve similar results in maintaining the tree if we run into a dry spell by asking the fire department to come down and every couple of weeks and water around it.
Yeah.
You know, put 100 gallons or so of water on it.
Yeah.
So I just wanted you guys to know about that.
Yeah.
He didn't feel the tree was in any danger from Dutch elm disease. He felt that attending to the watering of it was probably the best thing we could do for it.
Yeah,
So
certainly so far this year watering is not a
I
concern.
that was a
Not after
conversation, that was a conversation he and I had, and
Yeah,
Saturday night we had another.
yeah.
Not after that rainstorm we had on Sunday.
Nope.
Right.
Oh,
Alright,
speaking of which, can I jump in here for a second and ask, do you have any, update on Carter Hill Road after that?
I did drive down there today, and the highway department did do a little work down there.
Okay,
There was a fairly significant washout on the south side of Carter Hill Road, just before Fife Road.
Yeah.
And the highway department did get down there and did some work, but they didn't get it all done. They're gonna have to go back and add
Okay.
some material and put it in there.
okay.
thank you. Cushman.
Yeah. Alright, I think we're now at old business gazebo update.
Yes, so I left a voicemail on Mr. Baker's phone on the 7th of May, asking him if he was going to be able to complete the work that he was asked to do this spring, and I have not gotten any reply yet. So,
Okay.
it's been almost a month.
Yeah.
I can try again if you'd like.
Is, that the only way to contact him?
I have a phone number for him.
No email?
No.
Oh, okay.
What's left for work? Painting?
The posts, one of the posts had some rot on it.
There's a couple of the posts
Yeah,
that
they're
had
pretty
rot that he was
bottoms.
going to
And
check and,
we had asked him, and it was gonna be extra money, but we had asked him if he could do it, and he said yes, last fall. And, but I have not heard back from him.
I know that I can be bad at listening to voicemails, would you like I'll get an email to follow
Okay,
up, so we can
alright.
we can follow up both ways.
And we did have a request, from Dale Caswell. He felt that, we should pay attention to the roof. He thinks that we might wanna try and put some money aside in next year's budget to do the roof over.
What's wrong with it?
I don't know, he stopped at the town office and felt that the roof was getting in tough shape and that we should put some money in the budget to, I didn't talk to him, he left a message.
I don't know if it was structural or if it's just
Like shingles.
shakes,
I
look,
think it's probably the wooden shakes, I'm guessing, he thinks.
Yeah.
Oh, is that what that is? I never
Yeah.
thought that's wooden shakes?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I didn't
wasn't
look
sure.
at it, I didn't get a chance to look at it or anything,
Yeah.
but he had a suggestion. He also wanted to make sure that, that at the fair this year, that they did not remove any of the railings, because he felt they're structural, and that if they do, that it could pose a problem to the structure.
I
I know they were
believe,
removed last year,
yes,
and he had some concerns about that.
well, that was part of the whole conversation about repairing the gazebo the bandstand to begin with, but when I stopped by, when Mr. Baker was actually working on the gazebo, those things are glued and screwed in there, they're not coming off unless
The railings,
the railings,
Okay.
they are, I believe that he
They
designed
are
them not,
permanently-
they're there.
permanently attached.
Yeah, they're glued and
Railings.
screwed, glued and screwed. So, I think, it might be a good reminder to the fair committee not to attempt to remove them, but I don't believe that that's on that's not in their plans.
Okay,
But, I can certainly pass that along.
does he wanna remove the posts for the rot, or are we talking scab and,
I don't know, I didn't get over and look at the posts, I don't know what,
It's down around the
yeah,
bottom, of
there's three
course,
of
where
them that are
the,
pretty punky.
but there's big metal that goes up in the middle of the post, so there was a lot of discussion about how you attend to that, cause you just can't cut them off and put in a piece, cause there's metal going up, so, that's what he was going to look at.
I mean, you could scab and use like an epoxy rot remover or, you know, a filler
Sure.
essentially. Well, I'm just curious
Yeah, yeah.
because if we're talking the structural integrity of a building,
and that,
and if they
No, I
wanna
don't
pull
think-
out the posts or
No,
how they
they're
wanna
not, they're not
address it.
structural, it's just rotty around the bottom where the water's been, for years bouncing up on the bottom of the post.
and I guess I thought that he was gonna look at them and come back with an estimate
Yes,
to see, and let us know what he was gonna have to do to fix it, and an estimate of what the cost was.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'll get an email and we can follow up, the
Okay,
voicemail, that would be great,
alright,
so it doesn't get any wetter and rottier,
especially this year,
yeah.
again. Alright, code of conduct,
So you all have a copy of the
Yep.
latest draft. Most of, it's changed pretty significantly since the last time, but it's mostly reorganizing of things that were already there, reformatting things to try to make it easier to look at. And removing redundancy, cause there were like a couple different policies that got combined into one
Yeah.
document, so there was a lot of saying the same thing over and over again. I think we're pretty close on this, so I didn't get it to you in time to review, so if you could take this home and review it and
Yeah.
send me back edits, and then maybe we'll have maybe a final draft next time, depending on how significant the edits are that are proposed.
Well, what's nice is that, even without reading it, it looks very clean, it's broken up into paragraphs that are, you know, each one has a purpose and it's very clean. And it's not so long that the purpose of the paragraph is buried somewhere down, you know, in 8 lines. So I appreciate reading a document like this, and I think a lot of people probably would, it's not off-putting. So that's great, thank you. That's a lot to pick through something and the fruit salad and make it a single fruit.
yeah. And I think one decision we should think about, and we've had some discussions about it, is moving forward. What is our intent gonna be with having people, look at this document that are newly appointed committee members? And do we wanna have them sign it? What do we do if they refuse to sign it? I don't think we have much over people that are elected. But certainly we do over people that we appoint.
I don't know. I mean, we talked about this a little bit, and I think we even talked a little bit with town council, that it's not like it's enforceable, but I think it's just a sign of good faith that, yes, I've taken this, and yes, I've read it. And that's all, you know, and I think we should make that clear, that anybody, and this should be available at the town offices or on the website for anybody to look at. And anybody who's running for an office, when they come in to Sam to sign the book, should get a copy of it.
I agree.
Hey, please take this and, you know, come back and sign the book after you've read it, or read it here and just say I have.
You could also change the appointment slip, cause there is an oath built into it, that's why they have to sign it in front of Sam, and that's
Oh.
not prescribed by RSA, so you could include like,
Yeah,
I agree to follow the code of conduct,
yeah,
or something like that.
Or at least I have read the code of conduct,
Yeah.
however we wanted to word it, yeah, I would make it an essential part. If it's important enough to draft it and to say, these are our values, then I think it's important enough. I think that's pretty basic for somebody who wants to represent the town, to say, yeah, I've read this, and yeah, I agree.
alright,
Thank you, Cal, you mashed this into a much better shape.
yeah, that looks good. Alright, we're at healthcare for employees.
Ooh, yes.
In the old business folder, there's a little packet. There's only one.
Gotcha, yeah, okay, we can share.
So is this the results of your polling, or is this the more information from,
Yes, so it's both. If you
Okay.
unfold that larger piece of paper,
Yep.
that is the one that you looked at previously, and it has all the votes on the bottom of it.
alright,
People by far voted for option 4, which is the buyout.
Interesting.
Several people,
You wanna,
I can see.
okay,
the people who wanted options one or two, really wanted options one or two. There's an email from the lawyer there, cause you
Yep.
asked them for advice on this, and it sounds like the options 3 and 4 might require a lot more thought than we were expecting. Especially option 4, where the lawyer thinks that we may need to build that stipend into the calculation for overtime. And so it looks like option 3 and 4 need some more thought.
Okay.
One suggestion was to maybe go with option 1 and then, cause that's keeping with the exact same plan that they currently have, but it only gets us to the end of the year. So doing that for the rest of the year and then spending that extra 6 months actually fleshing out option 4 so that we
Yeah.
make sure we have it right. And there's also a noticing component to it, because if we stop offering health insurance, then I guess we have to do some noticing ahead of time to let employees know.
Yeah,
So if you decided on doing option 1, which is stay with the current thing for the rest of 2025, with the intention that in 2026 you do option 4, which is buyout for everybody, but that'll give us time to work with the lawyers and work with the accountants and figure out the taxes and figure out the noticing and make sure
Yeah.
everything's done legally. And then you could also re-offer the buyout that's already currently offered. That way, anybody who decides that they don't wanna continue with this option can do the buyout that we already offer.
yeah,
One thing with the buyout that we already offer is that we found out that we're supposed to be handling the taxes for it differently than we have been.
Ooh,
So, we have to redo Q1, for the buyout that was done, and we'll need to do Q2 differently, and, so if you could agree that we increase the buyout from the 6,500 to the 6,500 plus what'll be taken out in taxes, that way people are given the same
I
amount.
gotcha.
Just like with the wages discussion we did before, where
Yeah.
it was like, if we're gonna have social security and Medicare taken out, then you add that 1.75 and that
Yeah.
6 point something onto it.
yeah,
That way the employee has the same take home as before.
well, that seems to make sense, when time is short, which it is, to be able to stay with option 1, so one, nobody freaks out, everybody's covered, and then give us the time to make a better decision. Seems like that's a pretty good way to,
Is there a minimum amount of enrollees for healthcare? I know the town only has a handful as it is, but say if we wanted to keep option 1 permanently, do we have to have a minimum amount of people covered to keep that option?
I know a lot of insurers do that. Do you know?
I know Calvin asked me this morning and I didn't get a chance to talk with Harvard Pilgrim or the school care.
cause we have 14 people.
That was not part of their proposal, there was nothing that said we had to have a minimum amount of employees to do that. That was never part of the health trust or NHIT, they never said you have to have 10 or 15 or whatever, there was no minimum amount. I have that in my to-do list to contact school care to see, and that would be one of the questions we would ask if we were gonna go with the school care option 1 and then offer the buyout besides that.
yeah,
I would just hate for it to be an all or nothing, or we opt for a buyout and now we're trying to hire people and, hey, here's 800 extra bucks every month, like.
I get it, yeah.
Yeah.
alright,
So what do we need to decide about this tonight?
so
You have to decide what you're gonna offer.
So that's it, tonight, this is the,
This is it.
okay, just checking. Just wanna make sure that we needed to actually,
right. And I think what I'm hearing is it makes the most sense at this point to go with option 1 for the rest of the year. And then keep the buyout where it is now, except that we're going to keep the employees whole with respect to taxes.
Yes.
Okay,
yes,
And then if you can decide on which direction you wanna go for 2026, then we can do our research and make
Yeah.
sure we get everything in order
When does that decision have to be made for 26? November?
during budgeting.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, so we'll have some time.
I just wasn't
But
sure if
it's-
there's an enrollment period or a buyout.
Right, right. I
And
don't,
if you guys are leaning towards that, let us know, because that will give us, the more time we have to research it, the better
Yeah.
off we'll be, we'll have
Yeah.
better numbers for our employees and the town.
Well, it still seems like the bulk of the employees, their choice is option 4, so it would
Correct.
behoove us to go with
Yeah.
that. So, that still seems like the best plan for both time and, support.
yep,
Okay,
And could we opt, is school care, there's so many different options. Is school care the option 1, if we wanted to, could we just stay on is that one that will be available going forward, or is that another one that's,
as long as they're in business.
Well,
as long as they're in business?
yeah, school care as long as they're in business, but the Harvard Pilgrim one, I think they're just being nice for this
Right.
year.
Yeah.
Okay,
So it would have to
Oh,
change to
gotcha.
Cigna.
They would, yeah,
Okay.
they're offering, right, they're offering.
so at the
school
moment,
care.
this
They're offering-
particular option 1 is just for this year, which is really all we need.
Yeah.
Okay,
Probably, unless
Okay.
they decide to change.
okay,
right. Yeah,
so at that point, does option 1 become option 2? I guess it does, if that's school care
Yes.
Cigna,
Yeah,
okay,
Right.
so then
Did
we'll
we
have
see if
only,
the SAU uses school care?
I'm not sure if the SAU uses it, I know, Rachel did, a survey amongst a bunch of other towns that were on an HIT,
Right.
and most of them are switching to school care.
Just wasn't sure if
I mean,
maybe
it's
it was
an
like a
SAU,
bulk
so
discount,
yeah.
if we use it in
Yeah.
the school district, can we get employees on it, is there a benefit to that, or
There doesn't really seem to be bulk discounts,
no?
in general, cause like I looked on healthcare.gov and you can actually get the same Harvard Pilgrim plan that we currently have on healthcare.gov, and it would cost you the exact same amount,
gotcha.
per month, unless you qualify for like the tax rebate, in which case
Yeah.
like it would be cheaper for you, but it doesn't look like they're actually giving discounts to businesses that get group insurance. And I don't know.
Interesting.
okay,
I think they would look at, if we had 200 employees or something, they might look at it differently, but typically the way our healthcare, the way it used to work, at least with the health trust, we are put in a pool of like towns, and then they use, it's a complicated formula, but they use the pool as well as of like towns, as well as our experience.
Yeah.
And they combine those two calculations to determine what our rates are gonna be. We might possibly also have the option of going back to the health trust in 2026. Their board of directors did not make a decision in time to make the change this year or at this time.
Yeah,
They hadn't made any decisions. I don't know if they're gonna discuss it further because of their 2-year lockout that they have if you leave.
but it's still fairly early in the year, I mean, by the time we need to decide again at the end of the year, all kinds of
It would be
things could-
nice, it would give us time to look at a whole bunch of different options.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
I mean, certainly we will, the majority of our employees are leaning towards that option 4, if given the opportunity, and we will certainly do our diligence on that work.
yeah,
But we'll look at other things too.
okay.
yeah,
So they're leaning towards it for future, but for now, they wouldn't mind staying whole on the plan that we have, at least it's familiar, they've already got it.
I think if given the information that we're not sure what the implications are for option 4, that you guys would take option 4 off the table for this time, even though the majority of the employees might want it, because of the complications that might go along with it, I don't feel it's a good option, I don't feel it's a good option for us today,
Today, exactly,
today.
and,
Right.
It
and,
may be in 6 months from now.
yeah,
but today I don't think it's a good option for the town.
Yeah.
We don't
Okay.
know we don't know all the implications of it yet.
But it's certainly with this amount of people that, as you say, we've got the time to look at it more carefully.
And, yeah, we
And
would
things will
communicate
change,
that
so
to the
that's,
owners.
I think that's,
Yeah.
you know, do we need to make a motion to that effect? You're the motion maker.
Alright, so I'm gonna make a motion that we go with option one for those employees that take the insurance and that we keep the buyout as is with the addition of making them whole with respect to taxes.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Do we have to say with the understanding that we'll be spending, well, it's reflected in the minutes, the understanding that we'll be,
Yeah, we'll be
Exploring
investigating
that, yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah, yep,
ready, aye,
Alright, it's unanimous. Cal or Ken, do you want this back?
yeah, if you put it back.
Of course,
we'll,
yep.
take it.
Yep. Alright, we are at
update,
update on sale of town-owned property.
Yes, so the original offer was March 17th. You had given, Mr. Magoon 90 days.
Yep.
To, make a decision, or for the sale. The title company has raised some concerns because the previous owner, passed away in Massachusetts and there was no probate done.
oh,
We have supplied all the information that we got. Our attorneys drafted the deed and required signed, notarized, letters from each of the children that was listed in the will as beneficiaries of the will. And we got all that and we passed that on to the title company and they still have some concerns about it. So they're working on that, with Mr. Magoon. He called me today and they're not gonna make the June 17th deadline.
Yep.
He'd like an extension on that deadline. I don't know, I said, well, what do you think, another 90 days? And he said he would hope that they would have it done by another 90 days. So it's up to you guys if you wanna make it 30 days or 60 days or another 90 days, it's up to you guys what you wanna do.
Okay. I mean,
To remain on that.
right, so none of this has been Mr. Magoon's fault, I
No,
can't see
no,
punishing him
No.
for, something that's well beyond his control.
yeah,
So, does it need to be in the form of a motion?
no,
Okay, so, I mean, certainly I'm okay with 90 days.
I'm okay with 90
Yeah.
days, just knowing how things go,
Yeah,
I don't think that's unreasonable, it could easily take that long.
unfortunately.
and he also asked if, he could do a test pit on the property. I said, well, what do you, he said, well, he's wondering where parts of the property are wet, and he's wondering where he can put a building.
Yep,
And to determine where he can put a building, he's hoping to do a test pit. And it may involve cutting a couple trees, and I said, well, how far in do you wanna go? How many trees are you gonna cut? We don't want a big swath down to the middle of the property if the sale doesn't go through.
Yeah, yeah.
So I
would wait.
was like, well, I don't know, that
yeah,
might, okay, so
Yeah.
no other test.
I'm not okay with it,
I would wait
yeah.
too, yeah, just maybe
Yeah.
when he owns it,
Yeah.
test
No,
away.
that's fine,
Yeah.
I don't,
It's not like it's just for for where he's gonna put the building, it's not
where he would like to
to
put it.
decide if he wants to buy it or not, because he's already decided that.
Right,
So, yeah,
right,
Yep,
alright, next item, Beulah Fellowship.
yes, we received the A9, from Mr. Davis.
okay,
Is it in the,
No.
oh. Okay,
Did you have it or did?
Mandy had it, Mandy did receive it, it didn't make it into the, okay. We did receive it, obviously it's late. I will have it for the next meeting, so you can review it, determine whether you're gonna accept it or not.
okay,
In the meantime, I know we had talked when we met with Mr. Davis about scheduling a site visit I thought you were gonna have the A9 tonight, so depending on that, I was gonna try and schedule a site visit with the building inspector and the assessor. I can still do that before you get it, if you want.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
alright.
Do we need to physically look at the A9 or can, is that
I think
something?
you should review it.
I mean, can it just be scanned and,
Oh, we
Look at it.
can email it to you.
yeah, and that way,
Sure, we can do that, and then on the 16th, you'll decide whether you accept it or not.
Right.
yeah,
Okay,
Yeah, that makes sense.
so that's good, he sent that in and so we have our, his assurances that you can now know how to communicate with him and he can get his documents and,
yeah, and that was the thing, I mean, you had asked him to get it, Mandy sent it to him, and he filled it out and sent it back.
okay, good,
Alright,
that's a good sign.
yep, alright, next item, CPCNH representative. I think we sort of talked about that already.
We
but-
did, and we don't have,
So we talked about, when Sam was here earlier
Yeah.
before the meeting, we were trying to remember if it's an appointment slip or it sounds like it might just be a letter. So Ken and I are gonna try to find the last
Okay.
letter that
Oh,
was
okay.
sent and make a new one.
So you can make the appointments.
Yep, yep, okay, sounds
and
good.
that, and I think that's, and I think it might have been in the email I forwarded to you with, Beth McGuinn's reply that she did request that we communicate with CPCNH,
Yep,
to let them know
yep,
of the appointments so that they would know who they were dealing with and
Absolutely.
everybody would have their, so I'm assuming that letter would do that. Okay, great, thank you.
very good.
Thanks again, Edgar.
Alright, next item, library weatherization update.
Yep, we received the check for $7,210,
Yay.
Great,
that was part of that grant.
that's quick,
Yep,
wow,
yep.
Never happens that fast.
I know,
No, but it does stress the importance of getting grant paperwork in a timely
yes,
fashion.
it does.
So,
Alright, what else do we have for our public session?
Do you guys have any questions you want me to ask the school board next week or any concerns regarding CIP? Or I guess, are there any ticket items you want me to address with them or bring up?
I think I'd have to look through the last couple of bunches of minutes to see what they've been
Okay.
talking
Yeah.
about.
Or if you do, just email them to
Yeah,
me, that way if there's anything you can think of or I don't think of or.
So the one suggestion I would have is, I know you're aware of the proposed development at exit 18. Where are they with enrollment at the elementary school?
Well, I know right now kindergarten,
Yeah.
early enrollment is at 24, and they usually spike again at the end of June and July when people move in.
Yeah,
And so that was discussed 2 meetings ago,
Yeah.
I think. So enrollment is up,
right, fifth grade this year,
non-existent,
that's what I thought.
but I think
right.
the plan was to keep the teacher
I
and
heard
split the
that
lower
somewhere.
classes.
Yeah, but that's
Yeah.
probably a good thing to,
First, kindergarten to first, you need like
Yeah.
12 per class.
yeah,
So I believe that's where it is, but I'll touch
Okay.
base on that.
yeah.
And is the school board still dealing with the bus issue? Is,
Oh,
or lack
yes.
thereof?
Yes,
Okay.
from my understanding what that issue is, it's out of their control. And the way that it works with the busing is the bus company's contracted for the entire district. And unfortunately, Canterbury has one route that services the least amount of kids.
Yeah.
So when they're short a driver, they dump that route and they consolidate the kids to the other buses. So unfortunately, with the amount of kids in the buses, we draw the short straw.
Which might almost even be okay, but it seemed like a lot of the problem was the communication, letting parents know when that was going to happen.
And they did introduce a new app,
Oh,
it's supposed to come out where you can track the bus.
okay,
The accuracy of it, I'm not sure, I don't have kids on the bus we pick up,
Okay.
but you can, if you're a parent, you could say, oh, the bus is on Hackleboro Road and it's 6 minutes away.
Yeah.
So they are trying to implement things of that nature.
Yeah.
I don't know how they've been implemented yet, or if
Yeah.
that will get ironed out over the summer for next school year, but they are trying
That would be
new
nice,
bus
cause
things.
people are very vocal about,
There's a reason my kids get picked up and dropped off.
Right.
yeah, well, yeah.
So they are working on that, and I can bring that up. Other than that, I mean, I know people, I don't know if this is something to be brought up, but pick up and drop off in front of the school, the traffic issues.
Oh, yeah, because the other day, again, there was a for a while, there was a police officer, station that was keeping waiting parents down in the center.
No,
But the other day, the whole line was down on the road again, and it's on such that hill.
Yep.
And I crept out, cause I needed to,
Sure.
so, that's a school board, but I think that might be us too, trying to figure out how to best manage that traffic.
They can change the way they do pick up and drop off. I mean, my son's school does it completely differently in Concord, and it is a system, and you get in and you get out. I mean, I think there's ways that, I don't know if the town necessarily has to bring it up, or maybe the school board, but I think we could try to either expedite or change the way pickup and drop off happens, so we can mitigate that traffic, especially in the winter, it's tricky.
yeah,
You know, when you're trying to
Really
get up,
tricky,
if you're
but-
parked on the hill trying to get up, and it's tricky.
But anyway, if you're at the back of the line and you're not picking up a kid and you're trying to go around that
Yeah.
line, it's very dicey right when you get up to that crested
Yeah,
hill.
oh yeah.
yeah,
Oh, that's a whole line of sight thing, but,
yeah.
and have they made any, progress on grading?
So
Or is that something that's also gonna be discussed all summer?
they've been discussing it. The problem is with grading, from my understanding, and I'm not on the school board, but from what I've read and gathered is the way grading is mandated in the state, and I could maybe be speaking incorrectly, is the state mandates what type of grading system we use. The district implements how the grading is done, if that makes sense. So it's a district issue, and I know they're trying to address it in each individual school to accommodate the ages of the students. So it's not one size fits from kindergarten through 12th grade. They're gonna do one size fits for elementary school, and then middle school is gonna have a slight variation, and then the high school will get a different variation to more accommodate, you know, the curriculum.
And that's their, that's gonna be their discussion over the summer.
They've been working on that for well over a year now, so it's, yeah. Like I said, I'm not on the board, I just gather.
Okay, alright, well, I gotta. And when's your next meeting you said you were going to?
It's next Tuesday at CES,
Okay,
and then they'll be there again in August.
okay. Okay,
Alright, anything else?
Nope, just, we need to
Yeah.
go into executive
Yeah.
session.
Alright, so I'll make a motion that we adjourn into a non-public session to discuss personnel matters.
Thank you for all of
ready.
Good night, John.
Brian, you. Okay, we're
You never
back,
know, though.
you never know,
People take an interest.
yes, oddly enough,
Okay, so we're back online.
So the one thing I wanted to ask of John is that we make sure we have training taking place on the grader. Because he, you know, if, God forbid, John gets ill,
Right,
we've got a $400-some-odd-thousand grader that's not usable.
and only one of our two new employees would probably be the person who could take that training, correct?
yeah, I think, I did talk to John a little bit about this.
Yeah,
And he felt that Jesse was probably the one that he would choose to
Okay.
try and train.
Yeah.
I guess he's got a little background in running equipment, so.
Okay.
So he was probably
Yeah.
leaning towards that.
yeah,
Yeah.
good.
Well, yeah, that would be great, and of course, I would. I was going to say, what do we put in the job description for the wanted ad? You know, do we put in, we want somebody with the ability who could drive, you know, that,
We have a job description, so
Yeah.
we'll post it.
okay?
Yeah.
And I'm assuming we pay more for the person that has that, or we will pay to train them, yet another training, that would be,
Yeah, I mean, we pay for their CDL training
Yeah.
if they come in the door with a,
Right.
regular driver's license.
Right.
But the grader training is all done in-house.
So it's all done
Yeah.
in-house.
okay,
Yeah,
There's no specific license needed for
Right.
that.
oh, okay,
yeah. But I don't know if you've looked at the controls of the grader, it's all like joystick.
It's a spaceship.
Yeah.
yeah, we need an 18-year-old, come on.
Right, it's totally
An
different than the
18-year-old
grader,
gamer.
than the road grader that I learned to
Yeah.
drive.
So what
50
is
years.
Bowden going to school for, and can we convince him to come work for our highway department, because he's good, reliable, dependable,
Yeah.
and
Yes, he is.
Will the road rebuilding project hamper regular maintenance? The usual summer maintenance, are they gonna have a guy available to do culvert, the normal stuff?
So his intention is that they will continue with the normal maintenance and any emergencies that come up as much as possible.
Okay.
It is, I mean, usually during the summer, they grade the roads.
Right,
And York rake them and put water on them and do all that.
Yep.
And then they have certain culverts that they may wanna replace or work on or whatever. But he has, the roads that he's working on are the ones that he has to work on the most anyway, so, I
He
don't,
just has to have money to do it.
yeah, there shouldn't be a big interruption in the normal summer work,
I was just curious with being down a staff member and then
Yeah,
this big project.
Yeah, and there's gonna be an impact, but not to the detriment of all the roads in town, the other roads in
We're
town.
not hitting November scrambling, trying to get all the work done.
Yeah.
Again, it kinda depends on what happens, but they play the weather and everything else, so.
How long are they estimated to be doing it? Does he know, or is it?
He figured, I thought he figured 2 to 3 weeks was what he was hoping.
Oh, really?
And again, depending on how the weather is and
Yeah.
how things go and all that, so it's just, it's not gonna be a full summer project.
Okay.
Oh, no, that's good.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that I guess is good and bad, because the money that we had, the 250,000, let's call it, didn't go nearly as far as I hoped it would.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and that's the problem, is materials really are, and especially when you consider the truck to deliver the materials as
It's the
well.
trucking fees.
Yeah, so. But it'll help,
It will,
it will certainly help.
yes.
Which
Well,
roads
yeah.
are they doing specifically?
There's
Seven?
half a dozen, yeah.
Seven priority roads.
Yeah.
And not the whole road.
Right.
Just certain
Sections,
sections,
yeah.
Yeah, I have the whole packet up in the office if you wanna stop by and look at it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think at some point it's in our minutes too.
Yeah, it is.
Yes, yeah,
Because we went over it all.
yeah.
It's before my time.
Yeah.
It was,
But
actually,
not,
yeah.
but not long before you,
Right, yeah,
not long.
alright, anything further on that?
No, I don't think so. I just,
Alright.
hope we can find somebody. That's
Yeah.
still,
That's
I-
the eternal,
well, I guess we have the job description and we had talked in the past about some sort of incentive. What do we still have built in there as far as any incentive to get, other than the deal for getting your CDL, which
Yeah,
is pretty
and we
big?
haven't included a sign-on bonus or anything.
yeah,
Take
Well-
home 550?
exactly. I think honestly, as we approach budget season, we need to look at all our positions.
I have had discussions with the police chief.
Yeah.
He has had no luck hiring for his vacancy. He is putting together a package to, show what compensation is in other towns. And the difficulty in hiring at the wages that we're paying. I think he's gonna have a proposal for us, fairly hefty increase in wages for the police officers.
Yeah.
In order to keep the ones we have and to try and hire others. And really in keeping with all the other communities in the area, trying to keep up with that.
Yeah.
So,
And this is not unique to Canterbury or New Hampshire
It is.
or
no,
New England, this is a nationwide issue, so.
Well, relatively speaking, at least they're down one person out of how many? Versus the highway department that's down one out of 4. So, if we could find that warm body, that would be
well, I
great.
think percentage wise, we're probably in the same shape as other towns are.
Yeah,
I am on that listserv for municipalities, and they're always asking, what are you paying your police officers, what are you paying your highway department, what are you paying your firefighters? And benefits and things like that, and, all of the employees, it's all over, it's all over.
so what happens now if we say we hired a new police officer tomorrow and they needed insurance? Can they drop into our option 1 for the rest of the year?
Yeah.
Until that's
Yeah.
fine, still,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah, any new employees can sign on at any time.
okay,
It's just for existing employees, we don't have a certain timeline that we can do sign-ups.
right, okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Alright, anything further from anybody?
Yes, I will be
Okay.
out of town next Thursday, as will you, in Jaffrey. This Thursday.
Will I?
This Thursday,
Did you
June
sign
fifth, is the NHMA.
Let me see if I can sign up again.
Okay.
Anyway, I'll be
June
there
5th.
in Jaffrey on Wednesday, so I'm out of town,
Cool.
if anybody needs to know.
Wednesday?
I think I'm here in.
Thursday.
so-
Oh, God.
Thursday the fifth.
Alright.
I think the registration is way closed.
I
And
think I
it's
can
in
pull some
person.
strings.
Yep,
Thursday?
Thursday the fifth.
Oh, that ain't gonna work anyways.
Alright,
I got a playoff game at 5.
huh?
So.
We're gonna lose, don't worry.
They record the meetings, so maybe if you forward the video after to you, then you can watch the recording.
Do they do it again this year? In the fall?
No,
no.
they do two after election season, and that's it, so.
If I can get in, can I leave early? They don't really keep attendance at these
they
meetings.
don't tie you to your
should.
chair.
No, I know, cause when I did the hard road travel,
The
I have to
last-
be someplace at 3:30.
The last like 2 hours of it, cause I went to the one this year, the last 2 hours, I think, were right to know stuff, so you could skip out early, cause we've already extensively done right to
Yeah.
know stuff.
Okay.
Right.
But you definitely should watch the rest of it.
Yeah, I can forward that, I can,
I'll try to get on there tonight and sign up.
And you can come into the office tomorrow or Wednesday and we can just sit down and sign you up, like, we can just get it done.
There you go.
I'll come in tomorrow morning.
Okay,
That's an offer.
what time?
I drop the kid off at school at 8, so 8:10.
8:10?
If you're there, if you're not there, I can come later. I'm working out of the shop this week, so I'm home.
I'll be there.
Okay.
Perfect. Alright,
okay,
further,
that was it.
Calvin?
I'm good.
Beth, did you get a reply from Audra?
Oh, wait, my phone has been pinging, do you mind if I check to see if this is her? And I will check here too.
There's DS is sponsoring holding a seminar, and the lead speaker is somebody that knows a lot about PFAS.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
And I'm not sure who the seminar is geared to. I get the notifications because we have to test our water with DS, our drinking water from
Yep.
the well up here.
Yep.
And so they send me all notifications of upcoming seminars. And, I looked at this and it looks like it's geared more towards either employees of DES or, water system operators,
Gotcha.
either municipal or private.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure, and given what's going on up at the transfer station, how much they're gonna talk about PFAS and groundwater or well water or anything, I don't know, but, Beth sent a note to Audra Klum that's on the Conservation Commission. And she's a wetland scientist,
Yeah,
Oh, okay,
and we think she works for DES,
okay,
so we didn't know if she was going to attend.
yeah,
And if she did, if she could bring some information back to us.
yeah,
I am texting here to, reply to Audra, cause I did say, I'm forwarding her information about a DES seminar running Thursday, June 2nd, re-drinking water source protection, particularly concerning PFAS. Check your email and weigh in on 1, can you attend? And 2, if you can't, can you figure out from the description who this seminar is geared to? And would Ken Folsom or myself benefit from attending? She said, yes, I will check it out when I get home. I don't know when she gets home because she hasn't checked back yet. So I'm just pinging her to remind her, please check, but
That's fine, it's
Yeah.
June 12th, there is a cost associated, it's
Like $50.
$50, so, but. It's a Thursday from 9 to 3:30 or something like that.
cool.
How far is Jaffrey? Hour,
Oh, Jeffries,
Oh,
by
no, it's
Peterborough.
like 45 minutes,
45 minutes?
Yeah.
is it?
Yeah.
yep,
Hmm,
I think it might be 30, yeah,
Yeah, it's a good 45
I was
minutes.
gonna
Yeah.
say, I think it's an
Depending on
hour, but
traffic.
yeah,
Cause it's out 202, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, down to Antrim and,
right,
yeah, the fun road,
pretty rad.
yeah, yeah, beautiful.
and you get stuck behind someone doing
Well,
30.
well,
That's why I'm saying an hour.
yeah, I figure an hour.
Nothing starts at 8 on Thursday?
Yep,
Yeah. That's an early morning rise. We
No,
should
I just have
probably
to
do
figure
it.
out kid drop up, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
You could also sign up virtually, so you could sit somewhere and watch the Zoom if
you
don't.
can't, it's an in-person only for that particular meeting.
Oh, I forgot, that was,
And HMA has it out for me. I'll make it work.
I have leave by exclamation point, leave by 7 AM latest to get there is
Yeah.
my drop dead
yeah.
at the
We're
Jaffrey
gonna be on a
Fire
school
Station.
bus.
Yeah,
Right.
leave at 6:30, bring
Yeah.
coffee into the car.
Right,
The cat will not be happy with me, but that's okay. Alright,
anything further?
that's it,
Alright, motion to adjourn.
I second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.